Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Big House Tales, for more stories from the heart of Africa. Tap the subscribe button and hit the notification button so you never miss an episode.
Have you ever wondered what led to one of the greatest movements in Nigeria in our lifetime? My child, stories like this do not begin loud. They begin quietly, like a small ripple in a crowded place. One moment, people are going about their normal day. The next moment, a single event shakes the ground beneath their feet. This is the story of how ordinary young people, tired of fear and silence, found their voices at the same time. It is the story of how one spark in a small town grew into a fire that reached every corner of the nation. Watch till the end to know how it all began.
The revolution. I remember that morning as if somebody ironed it into my memory. It was 3rd October, 2020, a Saturday. The sun in Ogedi was sitting low, warm and ordinary. Nobody knew the day was carrying fire. Shops had just opened. KK riders calling for passengers. Normal life, nothing more. Then one video started spreading like dry season fire. It showed a young man and some officers along one of those busy Ogeli roads. People around were shouting. Movements were rough. Before anybody could understand what was true or not, the story took the shape of fear. In that moment, the video stopped being just a video. It became a spark. Phones buzzed. Voices rose. Mothers called their children home early. Even in my old hands, my phone kept vibrating with messages. You know our country. Bad news travels faster than fresh breeze. That was the hour. The ground shifted. By evening, stories were already flying. Some true, some twisted, all burning with emotion. Ugeli had unknowingly opened the door to something the whole nation had been holding inside for years. That was the beginning.
From 3rd to 5th October, the internet was no longer a place for jokes and gossip. It became a battlefield of memories. Youth began posting their own encounters. Some wrote long threads. Some posted quick videos. Some just typed short sentences filled with fear and anger. Hashtags rose like smoke, trending without resting. Every minute brought a new testimony. My child, if you had seen social media in those days, you would know the meaning of collective pain. People were not waiting for permission. They spoke from their bedrooms, offices, classrooms, buses. Their voices met in one place, online. It felt as if a giant drum had been beaten in the digital world, calling every young person to come and speak. I sat in my chair watching the nation pour its heart into tiny screens. For the first time in a long while, the youth were not whispering. They were shouting.
By 6th October, something new began. The uproar was no longer just about that Ugeli clip. It had opened a wound, and every hidden story began to rise. From Wari to PH, from Kano to Enugu, from Kaduna to Calabar, from Abuja to Lagos. Everywhere, people shared stories they had buried in silence. The internet became a river overflowing its banks. Lawyers volunteered, nurses joined, tech people built real-time maps, artists created posters, musicians offered their platforms. Everybody was doing something. It was unity without planning, anger without confusion, pain without division. I saw youths who rarely agreed on anything before, suddenly speaking like one family. Something was growing, something too big to stay online forever. You could taste the tension in the air that week. The streets were waiting.
On 7th October, the fire finally jumped from the internet to the real world. It began in Lagos, that city where every small spark becomes lightning. A small crowd gathered around Alausa, near the government offices. Not too many at first, maybe a few dozens, but their voices were steady. They held signs above their heads. Cars started slowing down. Some parked and joined. Some blocked roads gently. Some simply stood and watched. By noon, the number doubled. By evening, the whole area was rumbling with chants, flags waving, youth marching. Nothing violent, just raw energy swelling like a rising tide. The next day, 8th October, the movement spilled into Lekki, Surulere, and then across the nation. Abuja saw crowds. Benin saw crowds. Owerri, Ibadan, Uyo, portharcourt, even small towns felt the vibration. It was no longer just protest. It was a generation stepping out of the shadows. And my child, once young people unite like that, the wind itself changes direction.
My child, once the youth stepped out, the streets lent a new rhythm. From Lagos to Abuja, you could hear chants rolling like waves. Sometimes the chants were loud and sharp. Sometimes soft like prayers. People stood shoulder to shoulder, strangers becoming siblings. Traffic stopped, horns faded. Even shopkeepers stepped out, watching with wide eyes, not sure whether to fear or admire. The energy surprised me. It wasn't chaos, it wasn't noise. It was a steady heartbeat, rising through the city like a drum, calling everyone to witness a new chapter. During those days, kindness walked freely on the streets. Volunteers brought water and bread. Restaurants sent trays of rice. Women cooked stew in large pots, stirring with long wooden spoons. Medics moved around with small kits. Some youths offered free phone charging. A man packed a small generator and told everyone, use it, no problem. You see, hardship teaches unity. People who never spoke to each other before were now sharing food from the same plate. Religion faded. That simple act gave the movement a backbone stronger than anything else.
One thing confused the world. There was no leader, no one standing on a stage directing the crowd. Yet everything moved with surprising order. Donations came in. People tracked every kobo openly. If someone needed medical help, a message spread and support arrived within minutes. When trash started piling up, volunteers cleaned. Nobody argued about position or recognition. My child, unity without ego is rare. But that October, these youths achieved it. It was like watching a river flow without a single stone blocking its path. Soon, Abuja rose. The first gatherings near key junctions were tense. Security presence was heavy, but the youth stood firm. They raised signs, chanted, and locked arms like a human wall. People walked long distances just to be counted. The city, normally stiff and formal, softened under the weight of their determination. I watched videos from Abuja that night. People singing at sunset. The orange sky behind them looked like the land itself was listening.
Then came Benin. Oh boy, that city does not do things halfway. When Benin rose, the road shook. Crowds filled the major streets, chanting with booming voices. Banners lifted high. People climbed on top cars, waving flags like victory cloths. Even from far away, you could feel their spirit. Their determination was like a storm wind. Every new city that joined added fuel to the fire. For days, people doubted Port Harcourt. They said the city would stay quiet. But on 13th October, Port Harcourt answered louder than anyone expected. Youth gathered at a major junction: Garrison, Obirigwere, Rumokoro, Choba, Lagos, Mile 3, Abuja down. The sound was thunderous. Chants rose, echoing through the industrial skyline. People marched from Pleasure Park to Government House with the boldness of river warriors. I smiled when I saw the videos. That city has always carried heavy burdens. Seeing its young people rise with such unity filled me with pride. As the protests grew, new scenes appeared. Night vigils, candles glowing like stars on the ground. People prayed, they held hands. Some sang soft hymns, some simply cried. The candles flickered in the evening breeze, sending messages into the quiet sky. It was beautiful, my child. A moment when the nation felt like a single soul, whispering the same prayer.
During the day, the streets spoke. At night, the internet continued the conversation. Updates flew fast, sometimes too fast. Rumors mixed with truth. People corrected each other. Volunteers kept guiding the movement. Maps of safe areas were shared. Hotlines for emergencies. Lists of arrested protesters. This digital coordination made the movement feel alive, like a giant body breathing through millions of phones. There were moments when the protest almost felt like a festival. Music from small speakers, flags waving like colorful birds, young people dancing to drums and car horns, artists drawing symbols on walls and pavements. It wasn't joy in the usual sense. It was hope. The kind of hope that rises when people believe change might finally be near. But you know life. Where light rises, shadows also follow. In some states, tension began. Small confrontations, people running, rumors spreading wildly. No one knew what was true, what was twisted, or what was planted. Fear crept in, soft at first. Youth became more alert. Parents started calling their children every hour. Yet the movement continued. The river kept flowing.
My heart still skips when I remember this. That night at the toll gate is carved into my memory and the memory of a whole generation. I will tell it with care, but I will not hide the truth of the emotions people carried. As evening fell, the crowd sat together on the floor, just as they had been doing for days. The air was warm, the kind that makes your skin feel tight. Flags were clenched in fists, pressed against chests like shields of hope. Some people whispered prayers, some hummed the anthem. No one imagined the night would take such a turn. Then chaos struck like a swarm of locusts in a cornfield, sending people scampering in different directions. Copper flying in the air like the angel of death, voices rose. People shouted for everyone to sit down, sit down, sit down. We thought staying low would keep more people from getting hurt. The cry carried through the crowd again and again, desperate, trembling. In the middle of that confusion, some youths fell to the ground, wounded and frightened. I heard voices of people begging for their lives, everyone crying to their God, their words weak but full of fear. They clutched the Nigerian flag with trembling hands, holding it tight as if it was the only protection they had left. Those around them tried to help, but didn't know where to run or where to hide. Some lay still in gutters. Some covered themselves with those who had fallen. Some simply lay still, frozen by shock. The night felt endless. Groans of injured youth mixed with cries for help. Phone flashlights shook in unsteady hands. Voices cracked under pressure. That night did something to the spirit of the nation. It carried too much sorrow, too much disbelief, too much pain for a country already holding more weight than anyone should carry. Long after the lights came back, long after the road was cleared, the echo of that night remained. A heavy echo that reminded us how fragile hope can feel, yet how brave the youth were to stand there at all.
The morning after that long, painful night was one of the quietest I have ever known. The sun rose, but the country felt dim. Shops remained closed. Roads were empty. Even the wind sounded tired. Online, however, there was no silence. People were posting from hiding places, from safe houses, from corners of their rooms where the light could not reach their shaken faces. Voices trembled in voice notes. Stories arrived in fragments. Videos appeared in pieces. Some were filled with tears, some with disbelief. Many kept repeating the same words. Are you safe? Where are you? Have you heard from them? Parents searched for children. Friends searched for friends. Some sat on the floor in their rooms, staring at their phones, afraid of the next message that might arrive. Across the country, grief walked beside confusion. Anger walked beside fear. Hope bent but did not break. People could not return to normal. They moved slowly, spoke softly, breathed heavily. Even their shadows looked weary. My child, that day taught us something. Silence can be loud, and sometimes the quiet after a storm is even heavier than the storm itself.
For days, the nation struggled to breathe. Parents checked on their children. Friends visited each other. Conversations were hushed, heavy with emotion. Some cities tried to return to normal life, but energy was different. Markets opened, but people spoke softly. Schools reopened slowly. Office workers walked with cautious steps. Everyone was processing what had happened. Everyone felt the weight. Soon, voices from outside the country rose. Nigerians abroad held their own vigils. Foreign communities marched with flags. News stations carried long reports. It was the first time many outsiders truly understood what Nigerian youths had been shouting about. The world saw them. And for the youths, that recognition mattered, even if it did not erase the pain. After the storm, panels were set up. People came forward with testimonies. Lawyers attended. Media covered the sessions. Promises were made. People hoped. People doubted. It was a slow process, like trying to patch a broken pot without enough clay. But it was nothing compared.
The protests might have ended, but the awakening did not. Young people started community groups. Some formed online movements. Some focused on charity. Some turned their energy to elections. The fire had entered their bones. Even when quiet, it remained warm. October taught us many lessons. That unity is powerful. That transparency strengthens trust. That social media can change history. That youth are not lazy, they are waiting for purpose. That fear can bend people, but courage can straighten them again. The nation learned, even if slowly, what the movement left inside us. My child, when I look back at those days, I feel many things. Pain, pride, hope, worry. But above all, I feel respect for the youth of that generation. They stood when it mattered. They spoke when silence was easier. They held hands when division was expected. A seed was planted in October 2020. A seed of courage, unity, and boldness. And one thing I know at my age is this. Seeds like that do not die. They only wait for their season to rise again.
Big House Tales is dedicated to bringing you the best audiovisual episodes. Hit the like button if you've learned something. Leave a comment if you enjoyed this episode. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode. See you on the next episode.